What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Aaliyah Demry. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of MSR On the Radar. Today, we have another special guest. This is probably one of the smartest people in Minnesota. He's a CEO, the founder, and he's only 26 of Cryptic Institute. Make some noise, y'all, for Devin Boeing. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
First, for those who don't know, what is Cryptic Institute?
yeah. Yeah, we're an education business actually helping people understand tech and finance education, with a big focus on working with underserved communities, really making sure that our youth are a part of the shift that's happening within technology and finance. So that's what
Yeah,
we do. Yeah.
I love that. I love to see not only just black men like being successful, period, but being successful in STEM.
Yeah.
Like I think that's important. I think that's an avenue that especially young men and young women as well should know that is available for them.
Right.
What got you initially interested in that?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was always really interested in tech. But kind of like what you're touching on is the fact that there's not a lot of representation within the tech space. You know, growing up, especially being like a tall black guy, it's often pushed to go play basketball or doing something athletic. And while I was athletic, or while I am athletic, I also recognized I had a lot of passions for technology. Um, and that kind of led me to just kind of start tinkering and doing my own research. But like I said, there wasn't a lot of representation growing up, so that kind of stirred me away from it a little bit. But I think that's what kind of led me to create Cryptic Institute because I want to make sure that youth that look like me have that representation, have that exposure at a young age, and they can see themselves in these fields such as tech and finance.
Yeah, I think that's super important, and I want to touch on that a little bit. As far as like the stereotypes, what do
Yeah,
you think? What are the stereotypes, and why do people think that way? Like, are there some things that you can debunk about like the tech industry?
yeah, yeah. I think one thing that people always kind of do is put technologists in a box, you know, and that's kind of what I'm kind of trying to push against a little bit. There is no ideal look for someone that's in technology. There is no specific field that you have to be in, especially with AI now. There's so many new areas of specialty that you can have within the tech field. So I think there's a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to who can be in the tech space and who can enter it and who's it for. And I think overall it's for everyone that's interested in, you know, kind of exploring it. So
Yeah. I mean, how is it for you? You're having meetings in predominantly white spaces, and you're smart. You know what you're talking about. You bring a lot to the table.
mhm.
How are you adapting to these spaces and like ensuring that, your voice is heard and that you have that representation?
Yeah, it's a little bit challenging. Sometimes you have to work a little bit harder to build that credibility in some of these rooms. But I think a lot of the work that I do and the effort that I put forward on my mission kind of speaks for itself a lot of the times. So I haven't had too much pushback. I am young, and I think that's one of the bigger things is building that trust with a lot of the stakeholders and shareholders that we deal with. We want to make sure that we're ultimately aligning with them. And being someone as young as I am, it is a little harder for them to trust since I don't have that long of a career, but you know, over time, it's one of those things. Like I said, my success kind of allows me to prove my worth.
I feel like that's a norm for Gen Z though.
Mhm.
Like we're business owners, we're content creators. Like this is something that was not looked at as a thing
Right,
like
right.
20, even 5 years ago. So
Mhm.
to see that like someone like you is paving the way for the next generation, I think that's super, super dope.
Thank you.
But can you kind of talk about the beginning phases of Institute?
Yeah.
Like, how did this even happen? I mean, like, you're 26.
Mhm.
I'm sure you were just in college.
Yeah.
Like, what did that process look like? How did you manage everything?
Yeah. Cryptic Institute actually started or stemmed from my success. In college, I was studying marketing at the U of M. And during the pandemic, I kind of found myself diving into emerging technologies such as AI. This is before the Chat GPT boom, as well as cryptocurrencies, blockchain, investing overall. And that kind of led me to just start creating content on social media. And within the first 3 months, I grew my following to over 30,000 followers. Yeah, so that kind of one initially told me that this is something that a lot of people are interested in, especially younger people, but they don't really have an outlet for it to get the education. But also that I was pretty good at kind of delivering it and breaking down some of these more complex topics into digestible content that everyone's able to understand. And ultimately, I realized from that I wanted to create more of an impact. And that's what led me to realize that Minnesota is, currently 49th in the nation for digital literacy access, impacting a lot of our underserved youth. And, wanting to create more impact, I leaned into that to be able to work on our mission that we're currently doing now to close that digital literacy gap. So it stemmed from success on social media as a content creator and to wanted to do more for my community here in Minnesota.
Wow. So can you give an example of like making things easier that we can understand?
Mhm.
Like right now, you're doing a cohort. Like just give me an example of a case or a scenario where maybe there was some type of scenario
Mhm.
that I guess
That
we
was
could,
that was complex.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of what makes Crypto Institute so appealing to a lot
Mhm.
of people is, we lean into making these complex topics as digestible as possible. From creating short context or short content, such as like 1 minute videos, that we share with our cohorts, but also, it's interesting enough, young people have this literacy gap with digital literacy, but it's also older people that struggle with it too. So as of recently in our cohort, we had some older folks come in and they were kind of surprised at how easy it was for them to digest things about blockchain technology, about AI, understanding how this is kind of changing the way we learn, the way we socialize as a society, and ultimately how we work. So as of recently, I think that's a lot of the good feedback that we've been getting is that some of these dots that are missing with these technologies and how they impact us in society, we're able to lean into that and easily connect those dots for people.
Yeah, and you made a very good point. Like AI is impacting our everyday life.
Yeah.
And there's still people that don't want to adapt to it and for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Um but what do you have to say to that?
Yeah.
And I guess how could this emerging technology be a benefit specifically for our community?
Yeah. I think a lot of people that are pushing back on it, it usually stems from a place of fear, not knowing what the technology is about, how it's, going to impact them. And a lot of people are worried about their jobs, when it comes to AI and technology that's emerging. I think the first place to start is becoming educated. You really don't want to be coming from a space of not knowing. Again, that's leaning into your fears. And I think once you start to understand technology a little bit more, it's a little bit more welcoming and less daunting to kind of use it and start to embrace it. Once you get to that point, I think it's important to recognize that the technology is not going to replace your job or replace you and whatever work that you kind of do. I think it's important to emphasize that education once again because that's going to allow you to figure out how to use technology in your day to day life.
Right.
I think as a community, we need to be leaning into it because again, it's shaping our future, shaping today, and everything we do today. And ultimately, it's important to recognize that if we're not intentional about learning about it, about investing in this education, one, we're not going to be able to allow it to shape it in a way that benefits us as a community, because we're going to have other communities influencing it. But two, we're just ultimately going to be left behind in this shift that's happening. I always say that it's technology is a continuous thing. There's always going to be new technology, and if you're not willing to embrace it, you're going to lose a competitive advantage as a business. You're going to lose that competitive advantage as a young person entering the job market, or even someone that's older that's trying to keep their job. So I think it's important to learn about it and embrace it.
Yeah. That was a lot to digest. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
but that's real. So, I guess now, can you talk a little bit more about the work that you're doing specifically with the cohort?
hmm Yeah, so currently we're working within the communities. We want to make sure that we're showing up within the communities as easily as possible. So we like to partner with rec centers, libraries, and other community organizations. And currently we were partnering with the Minneapolis Urban League to run a number of cohorts at their location. And again, we want to make sure that it's as easy for the community to get the education that they need to kind of build these skills So that's a lot of the work that we're doing right now. We're continuously looking to activate with more organizations and more educational institutions. So continuously building out those partnerships. But as of right now, we're very much focused on working with Urban League and the Minneapolis area as well.
So what do these workshops consist of? Like, can you just walk me through a day?
Yeah, sure. So we tend to do our cohorts in segments of 4-week intervals, covering topics of AI, covering things such as blockchain technology. We'll even cover basic cybersecurity, considering technology such a thing that's embedded in our everyday lives. It's important to have not only these emerging technologies um, something or have these emerging technologies that's something that people are learning about, but also some of these basic skills, understanding how to use Microsoft Word, how to use PowerPoint. So we cover a variety of topics, and we do it every day. We'll do a different topic. So one day we might cover AI. The next day we might talk about the evolution of the internet and how the web, as we know it, is always changing. And then we might talk about the history of money and how cryptocurrencies are kind of evolving or integrating into our monetary system, and how we pretty much use our financial system. So yeah, we kind of dive into a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Can you explain to those who may not know what cryptocurrency is?
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Cryptocurrency in the simplest form is an alternative currency to any of the currencies that we have now. So there's a variety of cryptocurrencies. Probably the most famous one you guys know is Bitcoin, and that's just used to an exchange one transaction from one person to another in the most simplest way. So let's say you have $5 and you want to send it to your friend across the country or across the world, and you want to do that in let's say 5 to 10 minutes. You can do that with cryptocurrencies without having to wait 3 to 5 days if you're using like a traditional banking
Not no
system.
cash
Yeah,
out.
no cash app. It's instantly directly to the person. So that's kind of the solution that cryptocurrency solve is peer-to-peer transaction.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm getting from this, and kind of like you've already explained, each of these topics that you're covering in these cohorts, for some they may seem like things that, at least to me, because I don't know, I know, but things that we would know, but like Microsoft, but
Mhm.
they're changing every day. Like
Right.
now we see Gemini implemented in Google. I guess how do you, in your everyday life, what are some things that you see or that you use that kind of help you, or the tools that you use as far as technology?
Yeah. I think it's important for everyone to kind of start integrating AI into their workflows.
Mhm.
For me, example, if I'm working on, let's say, something when it comes to research, I might use Gemini to do some deep research into an article or a topic that I'm looking to dive into. I think that's a really good way for people to use it. Another thing I'll say, if you're using like these AI tools or technologies, it's important to recognize that they're not perfect. So if you're going to be using them, make sure you're going over what the AI is sharing with you, and making sure that you're not relying on it wholeheartedly. But I also use it for looking into investments. Let's say I'm looking into a stock and I want to do some research on that stock, or looking into a company. I think AI is really good at getting a lot of quick research, allowing you to have these sources that are kind of tagged to the research. When you're using Gemini specifically, is a good way to kind of lean into. So that's personally what I use it for a lot
Yeah.
of. You can use it for creating content. You can use it for writing articles or building ideas for content that you're creating. It's all about how you kind of want to leverage it in your field of work.
How do you know, or how can you decide which is the best tool for you? Like when it comes to Gemini, Claude, Chat,
Yeah.
GPT.
Yeah. I think it really depends on what kind of work you're doing and how intensive the work is. I would say everyone should start with ChatGPT. It's the most, I think, intuitive and simple for people to kind of grasp. And it gives the most simple answers. When you're looking to do something a little bit more intensive with coding, I say you can lead into Claude, because they have a really good coding aspect to their LLM. And then I think, again, going back to Gemini, I use that a lot for deep research. If I'm looking to get extensive knowledge on something, I'll lean into Gemini more because it uses Google's database of all of its search data. So it has a lot of extensive data. So
Yeah.
again, like I said, it depends on what you're trying to do, but I would say start with ChatGPT, mess around with Claude, and mess around with Gemini, and kind of see what works for your the workflow that you're creating.
Yeah. So just I want to bring it back to you.
Hmm.
So seeing all basically everything that you've built, I guess how do you manage all of that? Like how do you make sure that you're okay? What is your how are you making sure that you're good?
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, it's really hard to find that the whole idea of a balance.
Hmm.
Just because it's so demanding of a pathway. Um, I think the way I kind of center myself is ultimately coming back to the things that give me peace or that allow me to take a break from
Hmm.
some of the chaos that might be in entrepreneurship.
Like what?
So recently I've been getting into playing soccer a lot more. Playing soccer and tennis is one of the best stress relievers for me. I think because it just allows me to take my mind off of the day to day of being an entrepreneur. Um, I think spending time with people that aren't necessarily business related or business minded also kind of allows you to do that, or find some peace outside of that. But it's really one of those things where I think you also have to find passion in the work because it can often consume a lot of your day to day where it's like if you're not finding that passion, you're gonna lose, I think, the drive to do the work or to create the impact that you're looking to create. So I think finding fun ways to make your business enjoyable, you
Hmm.
know. For me, I try to, I'm big on researching things that kind of just catch my eye. So I'm a little spontaneous with my research. So maybe just diving into something that is a little off the path of my normal tech dive that I might have, and kind of just trying to find fun in that as well. So getting creative with how you kind of find that peace and the balance
Yeah.
between the chaos of everything.
And you're still learning at the same time,
Exactly.
which I
Exactly.
think is cool. I'm always trying to find like positive hobbies. Like
Yeah.
instead of going out to eat,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
things that like can elevate me and grow my mind.
Hmm.
So that's some good advice to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you would maybe give to a young person that's watching this that is probably thinking about going down the entrepreneurial path?
Yeah. I would say consider it and consider it long and hard because it's something that it's going to take you away from a lot of things if you're committed to it. Entrepreneurship was something I started in college. Like I mentioned, I was majoring, or I majored in marketing at the U of M. At the time when I decided to do entrepreneurship, I was interning at Procter and Gamble, doing work for them, and it was a big moment for me because I had to ultimately decide if I wanted to pursue something that I was more passionate about over something that was stable and reliable,
Mhm.
um, in corporate America. And I ultimately made the decision to pursue my business. So I would say, with entrepreneurship, if you're considering it, start young because it's one of those things that takes time to kind of get going and building relationships. Like I said, it's a big thing on trust. And once you're building those relationships, it goes a long way. So if you can start young, that's a good thing. Make sure you're passionate about it because that's going to get you through the times that are harder. Um, and then ultimately, make sure you're having fun with it. I think if you're not having fun, and if you lose the passion, you're not going to be able to have the results that you're ultimately looking to have. So
Yeah, that's
that's
some great advice.
yeah,
Um, so we were talking earlier before we started. You're Liberian.
yes.
Shout out the
They got
Liberians
IB,
out
they
there.
got IB.
Um, I know traditionally in West African culture, like, um, parents and family members, even like in Black American culture, like they're really big on like doctor,
Hmm.
lawyer.
Yep.
So, I mean, you still went down, a STEM path,
Mhm.
but you kind of took a risk becoming an entrepreneur, a
Yeah,
business owner.
yeah.
What was kind of their reaction to that?
A lot of questioning because, like I said, I already had a really good internship lined up. I was already doing well in school. I didn't really have to do anything other than keep going on the path that I was already doing well at.
They believed in you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they, they invested a lot of time in me. And I invested a lot of time in my education as well. So there's a lot of hesitation and a lot of doubt, I would say.
Coming from you?
From my family, just because it was a big pivot. And I think for me, I had to really sit in the fact that I could either go down the path that fulfilled my family, or I could go down the path that fulfilled me. And ultimately, I chose the path of most fulfillment for myself. But I like I said, I had to get over that hump of proving the success of my entrepreneurship journey. Because at first, especially in entrepreneurship, it's not it's going to take a little while before you start seeing revenue, start seeing growth in any type of regard. So it's one of those things that took a while for my family to really start respecting the motion that I had with my business. But now they're kind of like, oh, this is
Yeah.
dope. You're really doing it. It's clearly heading in the up and up, and they're all aboard now. So
Yeah.
I guess that's all that kind of matters.
I love that. It's full circle.
Yeah,
For real.
it is. It is.
I think just like for me too, I can relate to that a lot because like even now I still make a lot of decisions based off of like what my parents would think instead of like what I actually want to do, because I feel like one of my big fulfillments in life is to like make my parents proud.
Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, like this is my life too.
You have to live it for you.
Exactly. So
yeah, and I think entrepreneurship for me has kind of been that. So grateful for the journey.
Yeah, well, I'm super proud of you, and this is super dope to see you doing all of these great things in the community. Wishing you nothing but success.
Thank you.
Future to come.
Appreciate it.
Is there anything that you would like to tell our audience as we close out? Where can they find you, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Definitely check out our website, www.cryptic.institute. Also check us out on social medias at cryptic.institute. You'll be able to find us there. But ultimately, I would love for anyone to come to some of our cohort, take in some of the education, gain some skills, gain some knowledge, and hopefully get in a position to win. So hopefully to see some more people at some of these cohorts coming out.
Okay, well, thank you, Devin, for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you all on our next episode of MSR on the Radar.